Hey guys, it's Nano here. I'm going to show you how to use Schnick's mesh import script tool that just came out. The download will be in the description. Now this tutorial is not going to go over how to rig, create, make custom models. Not going to tell you how to use Blender. It's just going to show you how to use the script. So first step is to make sure you have a model. Your model is rigged to the Battlefront skeleton. To test to make sure everything's rigged, you can go to pose mode, select the hips, and make sure pose mode is enabled, and then you can move it around, make sure no vertices, no objects stay still. If they all move, that means they're rigged to the model correctly. Okay, next step is to double check to make sure your mesh is set up the right way. Make sure there's only one material set up on the mesh. So I'm going to select the mesh, go to the material tab. You only have one. If you have more than one, it can kind of mess things up. I'm not going to go into details into how or why. Just make sure you only have one set up. And then when it comes to the transformation details, make sure everything in location is set to 0, scale is set to 1. Rotation has to be what the object originally was. So in this case, all objects imported from Frosty to Blender are at a 90-degree rotation on the x-axis. So make sure it's at the same. If it's not the same, say that. If it's not the same, you can select it, go to Object, Apply Location. It'll turn all these numbers to 0. Or Apply Scale, turn all those numbers to 1. Once your mesh is set up, you can File, Export the FBX into a project folder. In this case, I already made a project folder. Just for demo's sakes, I'll make a new one, just so you kind of can see how to do it from scratch. So go to my desktop, Battlefront mods. I'm going to create a new folder up here. I'm going to just name it Ahsoka tutorial. Okay, I'm going to open this folder, which is my project folder, and save it in there. You can name it whatever you want. It's just so you know where your mod files are going to go. Okay, after that is to open, you got to open Frosty. This case, I'm going to replace Rey's first costume mesh with Ahsoka. So to do this, before you can use the import tool, you got to export some files from Frosty. So open the Res Explorer. Give it a few seconds to open up. I'm going to type in Rey. I'm going to go to her character folder in the Res Explorer, and I'm replacing the first costume, so I'm going to click on that. Don't mess with the cloth mesh stuff yet. We're only going to do her main costume file. So in this case, this is the res file we need. Rey01 mesh is the name of the mesh file. Here is her mesh set file. I'm going to export that. And then I'm going to go find my project folder. Oh, wrong one, not Baby Yoda. Battlefront mods, Ahsoka tutorial. Here you're going to create your sample folders, what they're called. So in my case, I call them, this is going to be Rey's mesh set. So it doesn't matter what you name it, as long as you know what you're putting in. In this case, I'm putting in Rey's mesh set files. So this is where I'm going to save them, right here. And then on top of the mesh set, you need her block files, the shader block files. So to find them, whatever the name of the file you're importing over, find the folder under the main costume folder that has mesh written on it twice, and then you need the blocks, the blocks file. Not import, my bad. You're gonna hit export, save it in the same folder that you just saved the mesh set. Hit save. Okay, now that you have those saved, you can open the Frosty Meshy tool and then set the project settings, which are right here, the folder with the gear. So I'm going to select the project file, so Battlefront mods, Ahsoka tutorial. Don't select the mesh set folder, select the base project file folder. And you see the mesh sets will pop up here. Then for the output, I'm going to create an output folder in the Ahsoka tutorial, new folder. I'm going to name mine output. Again, you can name it whatever you want, but that's what I named mine. After that, you're set. And then at this point, I will save my project file. So then I'll go to my project folder, and I just name this Meshy project. There you go. Now this is what it'll look like once you have the folder set up the right way. You'll see the samples pop up over here. Hit the check mark. This is essentially Ray's mesh sets. Here are the LODs. I'll go into detail about those later. Here are the meshes that you can replace. So in this case, you can have a maximum of 2 meshes you can import on Ray. My file here has 1 mesh. So the skirt's going to be for a cloth mesh, so I don't need those right now. So this is the only file I'm going to put over the main Ray costume. So I'm going to click on the little tab here by the mesh name. This is the vertex, I guess vertex data name. I think that's what it's called. This is the name that you're going to look for when you import the FBX. So then you go back to Meshy, select the FBX, go to the tutorial, the project folder. Here's my FBX. Select that. And now in this case, I want to use the material for her equipped mesh. So I'm going to go, the close file here is what I want to use. So see here, it's not by the object name, it's by the vertex data name that you're using for that object. See, so the skirt, I have it named Flappy because they flap with the cloth mesh import. But in this case, for the rest of the clothes, it's just called clothes 008. So make sure you select that there. Now the LODs, this is how the model looks like from far away. So LOD 0 is going to be the highest mesh. That's when the model's closest to the screen. It'll load this model. In LOD 1, you want it to be slightly less. So the script kind of automatically adjusts these values. I always go in and edit it myself. So it's slightly lower than 0. LOD 2 slightly lower than 1. And then you just kind of go down and build it down. If you have a high-end PC, you can keep it all at max, but if you're making this mod public, I recommend actually setting these up the right way so low-end PCs can run your mod just fine. Okay, once you have that set up, you're ready to export and convert the files. Now, if you leave material blank, that object will not show up on the model. So if you want to delete an object pretty easily on the base mesh, all you gotta do is not import one over that mesh set. That makes sense. So you don't have to fill up all the mesh sets to import, only the ones that you want to replace. So after that, once it's all set up, you hit convert, you get a little pop-up, and then it says it's done. And after that, open up Frosty, and then you're going to go back to the mesh set file, right click, import, find your original output folder that you made already, so Battlefront mods, Soka tutorial, output, the mesh set.res. You're going to click on that. Then go to the blocks folder where we found the blocks file, import, blocks. Select that. Now we got to import the chunks. So you can see here, there are all all the chunks are going to be through here. So you click the copy, that will copy the chunk name over, paste, and then this will pop up here. You got to right click, import, then go back to your output folder, Soka tutorial, output, and then you got to make sure you import the right name. So 3F8, 3F8. I got to do that for all of the chunks, or in all the LODs. Give me a few seconds to do that. 2, 3. This is the part that takes a little bit. Now if you want, see these check marks here? You can uncheck these and only import one. I do this for testing purposes, but for the final product, I highly recommend you import all the LODs, or people will be upset when their model does not look right from far away, and it can potentially break in the game. Once you have all 5 LODs imported, I need 3E. I like to double check that I did them sometimes. Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna do that for the tutorial. But after that, you can then go and check the mesh. So I already had it open, so it's not gonna refresh it. You gotta close it out. Open up the mesh again. There we go. There's my custom mesh. Now I gotta replace the texture still, but that's should be pretty straightforward how to do if you know how to use Frosty already. And that's it. All I gotta do is hit launch, and it should load in game just fine. Next tutorial we'll go over cloth mesh imports.